Hello. Are there any people who doesn't speak Czech? So we'll continue in English. I had both. Yeah. So slides are in English for you to all guests could enjoy it. So this presentation is offered by our university for high schools in Czech Republic, and I gave this speech 4 times this year for roughly 200 students, and it's intersection of some normative classical philosophical study. What should we do as some introduction to the effective altruism, plus there is a clickbait. Yes, that's the name is the clickbait. So you you fall in it, but it will consist some superheroes like Superman and Batman. And the second part of the presentation, it's made from our experimental results from studies on Czech and Slovak people. So let's start. As you can see, I'm Robin, yeah, Batman and Robin. Yeah, great. So they are superheroes and the ordinary people. I'm just ordinary person, lowly PhD student, so don't be hard on me, please. And why we are starting talking about superheroes, not about a beautiful child in Africa and great scientist who cured many diseases. Well, superheroes are great tools to storytelling. You can stress up many motifs, and of course there are some artistic means to use them. Well, I'm not going to talk about pop culture, but I'm using it as a means to tell different story, to talk about their abilities. This comic is not canonic. It was printed before United States entered the Second World War, so they consider Uncle Joseph, Stalin, and Adolf to be equally bad. Yeah? In this time, Hitler ate Europe from the west, Stalin from the east. Yeah? It was during the bombing of Helsinki. So, yeah, and the hero is a classical Superman who can do whatever he wants. There are some small physical limitations like speed of light, but never mind. So how can Superman solve Second World War in 1 minute or in 1 page? So first, he flied to the Germany and get Adolf Hitler. Sorry, I cannot read it in a German accent. I can barely speak English, so never mind. And then with Hitler, he flew to the Moscow to get Stalin, and where we are going, where are you taking us? And Superman answer, next stop, Geneva, Switzerland. So, yeah, and there is a consul, and there are Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin. We pronounce you guilty of modern history's greatest crime, unprovoked aggression against defenseless countries. So, that's it. In 1 page, Superman solved Second World War. Yeah, Superman, but as we know, or many of you know, Superman lives a double life. He's also Clark Kent. He writes some stories. He works in Daily Planet as a writer. So imagine that he could be saving, for example, kids in Africa or preventing some terrible natural disasters, but instead of it, he's writing some boring story to the newspaper. By every sip of coffee in his ordinary job, he could be saving possibly hundreds or thousands of people. Well, and there are not many agreements in the moral philosophy in the last 2,000 years, but there is one little that you have duty to do X something only if you are capable of doing it. Nobody can ask me for doing great donation. I really suck at business, so my ability to make a lot of money are closely to zero. So it would be quite bad idea, or ask me to be a athlete. Well, maybe I would be better at the business. So, but Superman is a different story. He can do nearly everything. So, does he have a duty to save a million lives? Well, the artistic motives are pretty simple. Nobody would read the comics if every second of his life was saving people in Australia, and in next 2 seconds saving people in Africa, in next 2 seconds in Europe. It would be like reading a phone book, just boring. So the storytellers had to put some ordinary life in it. And probably, as we know from his arch nemesis, Lex Luthor, we could be afraid that Superman would become power-hungry, Machiavellian monster like Stalin or Hitler was. So there could be some reasons why authors use the motive of ordinary person. But just imagine and count how much good could Superman have done instead of drinking coffee and writing boring stories. Well, there's a story, there's just sci-fi, but really, as in the last lecture, Lucius introduced you to some cognitive biases. Well, no wonder, we are not fallen angels, so we aren't completely rational beings. We are risen apes. So in our evolutionary history, like 100,000 years ago and millions of years ago, we were just simple monkeys, busy with counting few things and moving in a social hierarchy. That was our main evolutionary task, not saving people on the other side of the world. So no wonder our folk psychology, with which we are born, is pretty simple, right? Well, my idea that we became superheroes with growth of technology. We can easily kill or save people on the other side of the world with just few clicks on the internet. So, yeah, we are superheroes. Well, that's great, but do we have same responsibilities like my favorite philosopher, Spider-Man, or Peter Park said, with a great power comes great responsibility. So if Superman, as we shown on the previous slide, is responsible for the people which he has not saved, are we responsible for the people on the other side of the world? Yeah, general example, last year we have Peter Singer in Olomouc, the guy in World of Warcraft t-shirt next to him, that's me. That was the great 2 lectures he gave us last year. And yeah, classical example with drawing a child in a pond. Yeah, I think you are all familiar with it. So yeah, we would save the child in cost of ruining our clothes. Yeah, my clothes aren't so expensive, so like 2 lunches, so no matter. But not many of us would care the same for the distant kid. Yeah, but as I said, we are superheroes now. So are we responsible? And yeah. Now we can move to the problem of killing and letting die with another famous moral philosopher, Batman. And I'll ask you to run the movie from the second minute, or I can do it myself. Yeah, just please watch it and try to understand. As Ra's al Ghul, leader of the League of Assassins, said, you finally learn to do what is necessary. But the Batman is a little bit clever. He didn't kill him, but he didn't save him. And there is a difference his intention was the same. He wanted Rajagu be dead. And the result of his action is also the same, just letting him die or killing him. So it's the same, to not save and to kill, that's the question. And I brought two short thought experiments. In the first one, you have an uncle who is rich, and you want to inherit his money. In the first scenario, you draw him in a bath, and the result, he is dead, and you got heritage. In the second scenario, you want the same heritage, but he accidentally bangs his head and drawn without your help, but you are standing next to him, and you didn't help him, right? So the result is the same. So what's the important part of these two examples? The intentions were the same, results also the same, so the acts, one is actively killing, and the second is not helping. Well, I have the second also famous thought experiment from moral philosophy. Imagine that two siblings, Jan and Eva, have a granny which is terminally ill, lying in hospital, and both of them want to give her a visit. So Jan has completely altruistic intentions. He just wants his granny to be happy at the end of her life. So he did some good deeds. He brought a flower and a chocolate. They talk, and the result was that Granny was happy or satisfied with the visit. Eva did the same thing, with same results, same deeds, but her motives were completely selfish. She cared only about heritage. So who's the good guy? Jan, Eva, or they are the same? Well, compared to this example here, where same results, same deeds, but different intentions. So what's the core of morally good act? And as you probably all know, these simple thought experiments, which are used as a model example or as a stimuli in moral psychology or experimental philosophy, we are doing the research on Czech general public, on a quite large sample, on a web-based questionnaires, or in live experiments with adults in number of thousands, about 8,000 to 9,000, and on the children. So as you probably all know, if there is a runaway trolley heading to 5 people, our moral intuition is to switch the trolley to the another truck and kill only one bystander. In the other example, where the 5 workers are on the track, but we had to not switch a lever, but to push one man down to the trolley to derail it. So usually general people said yes to this one and no to this one. So why? There are many papers and many studies explaining what is going on in this behavior, but I'm using it as a model example. Why it's good to have it? So let's say that we have to implement some software to autonomous vehicles, and there are some problems in world policy when we have to save some people, but we are also doing harm to the others. So we compared parents and their kids, and what we found that kids are pretty rational. Yeah, children are green, adults are blue. This is a Likert scale. 5 means yes, 0 means no, or completely no. So they can choose from the scale. And if you compare children, so they are somewhere between. So in a bridge case, Quite a lot of children are fine with a sacrificial of one life in order to save 5, but not parents. Yeah, that they are just some outliers, but majority of them are against. Even though the math between these two cases are the same. So in a previous lecture by Lucius, there are quite a lot of cognitive biases in it. So, first, what was found by the other researchers that, of course, we prefer family members in the trolley dilemmas. If you had to, switch the train, you are fine to have 5 people killed if you saved your own relative. And more the person is related to you, like your brother is 2 times more related to you than your cousin, well, you are more willing to save him. Even though you had to kill other people. Of course, social economical status play a great role. More richer you are more willing to sacrifice some people in order to save many. There are also gender differences. Men usually tends to be more utilitarian, just sacrifice some people in order to save others. And there are differences, not easy, but east is a typo, between countries. For example, people in the United States are more willing to save people in switch case, right? Do not have many die just to prevent it and send trolley to the other direction. But in the eastern countries, like China or Russia is some between, people just do not care about it. You know, just 5 people that's life. Well, and just to offend the last group of you, well, I hope that everyone was offended or his intuition were challenged. Even liberals has intuition. As a great paper from Dave Pizarro, the American psychologist, found that if you set this trolley problem in one person with African-American name and 100 person from Philharmonic Orchestra, like classical music, which many people suppose to be non-black people. And the other example is one guy with a white-sounding name and jazz band of supposedly black people. American conservatives are preferring saving 100 people. Even though they are black or white, they just don't care about race. But liberals has problem with sacrificing 1 black people in order to save 100 people. So every single one of us has some intuitions, some biases, and we had to try to face real data, not just sitting as old philosophers in his armchair and thinking about hypothetical works. If you faced not only good argument, but good empirical study, it could challenge your innate biases about the world. So, yeah, be like children, I suppose. Calculate more. So that's it for this short talk. You can send me an email with some ideas if you have, or now is the time for discussion.
Great. Thanks a lot, Robin. We'll take questions. We've got time, I suppose, for 2 or 3 questions, maybe. So, who wants to ask a question? Right. You, sir, in the middle.
Hi. Thank you for an interesting talk. You started with the premise that when someone is able to do something, he is compelled to do something. Was this like an axiom of your talk, or is there more thought behind it? When this is true, and up to what extent? If you can say a little bit more about this.
Well, I'm not a moral realist. I don't think that values or norms are real as humans or trees, let's say, right? We are constructing our morality. So the aim of the talk was to challenge intuition about what is considered to be moral, whether it is our intentions, our actions, or just the results. For example, I consider myself to be a utilitarian, so I am more focused on the results. Well, the idea that if you have power to do something, it's a reverse. If it's not in your powers, for example, to find a cure to cancer, you don't have to do it if it's outside of your reasonable physical power. That was the premise, and I think it's quite okay. Yeah, you can say that there are some limitations of it, that's true, but as a premise to this discussion, I find it non-problematic.
Right, thank you. That was a great question. Do we have another? Right, Mr. Svatoň.
Hello, I would like to ask, do you have any explanation for the stark difference people make between killing and letting die? I know it's probably not proven, but do you have any opinion why there is such a difference?
It's proven so quite easily that it's much easier to use some instrument to cause somebody dying, like switching a lever, and we have aversion to cause physical harm, to cause direct physical harm. So it's fine if you just push a button and kill somebody, then just to do it by your hands. If you are not psychopath, if you are a psychopath, you maybe enjoy the act of killing more than just clicking. But in general, it's the main difference. Also, if neuroscientists find different brain activities in different parts of the brain, but it's not my field. So, yeah.
Okay, great. I see a hand there in the middle. Yeah.
I'm an effective altruist, but I'm not utilitarian. I'm not convinced by the examples because sometimes not saving the drowning child in the bath is as bad as killing the child. But for example, if the burglars come to my house and they say either we kill your wife or you kill her, it's not the same killing her myself or letting them kill her.
That's the famous example from Bernard Williams in ethics. Yeah.
So I'm not convinced. But why do you think it is so important to convince people that utilitarianism is true? I think you can be effective altruist without being utilitarian.
I agree that you can be effective altruism without being utilitarian. The point of the presentation was that there are three different topics of discussion about motives, deeds, and consequences. That's my personal choice that I prefer consequences, or whether if I'm saying that this particular behavior is a virtue or this is virtuous man, usually my explanation is somehow linked with the consequences of his or her behavior. So, yeah, the discussion is quite broad. Even the philosophers are quite divided between deontologies, utilitarian, and the others. So it's still open question, and I think it's not necessary to convince everybody to be utilitarian if they are doing good work in the world. So if they are effective utilitarians or effective altruists and are doing some good deeds in the world, it's not important question whether they are utilitarian or not.
Right, okay. Luckily, we have time for another question. So this lady in the front, thank you.
Okay, I'm just curious. You said that there is motivation, selfish one, and the altruistic one, right? But the consequences and actions are the same. So basically, no one cares in real life. But what if we take the EA concept? It's philosophy, it's ideology, and everything matters. Motivation matters too. Do we have to change effective altruists with the selfish motivation to the right path? Do we have to switch them?
I understand the question. Thank you for proposing it. From my personal point of view, the important is that the people are effective. They are bringing the most good to the world. And whether they are doing it for completely selfish reasons, like they enjoy it, or they want to be famous, I don't care. Well, it's quite hard to distinguish the motivation. Sometimes I cannot even say whether I am doing it for just goodness sake or because I want to feel superior. I don't know, but I'm just doing it. So, and it's quite hard to measure it, right? So what is quite objective are the shorter consequences of your deeds. So that's the reason why I think it's more pragmatic to focus on the measuring the consequences of our action.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks for great questions for Robin. Thanks for answering them, and thanks for the talk again.